When creating characters for your story, you need to remember that they are not only competing with each other in your reader's mind, but they are also competing with every other character that the reader has ever encountered before. So it's not enough for them to just stand apart from each other. They have to be as unique as individuals in real life, and stand apart from literally everyone else. Because otherwise, what are they even doing in the story? In order to be memorable, they need to be unique. So, how do you create unique characters? Number 1. Each character gets a unique physical description to remind the reader of who they are. Obviously, they can have more than one description overall, but you need to give them one unique, repeated description. For example, Hermione had bushy hair and buck teeth. But if the bushy hair girl fled from a conversation, we would know it was Hermione. If the buck-toothed girl fled, we'd be like, wait, what? Give each character one physical description to make them stand out in your reader's mind. It'll be like a little something to put on their name tag beside their name. Oh, that's Mrs. Landry. She's always hacking up a lung, and yet she smokes 2 packs a day. Ken Shirley never misses the opportunity to bring up his time on city council, and he still wears his city council pin. Tim flirts with everything that moves. Betsy changes her hair color more often than her clothes. And then, these are things that you remind the reader of throughout the story. Number 2, give your characters the opposite of a flaw. Doesn't have to be a strength, it's just, what does this character bring to the table? Why are they in this story? Maybe it's a high-stakes thriller and your protagonist is an EMT who's good at remaining calm in chaotic situations. Maybe it's a puzzle mystery and your hero's best friend is a meticulous librarian with a penchant for pattern recognition. That's why they're in the story. Remind the reader. Number 3, make sure their motivation complement their archetype. When I'm writing, I find it very helpful in the first draft to make heavy-handed use of archetypes. It lets my scenes flow out faster. So you end up with a best friend and a bad guy and a hero and a mentor, and they're easier to move around in scenes when they've got an archetype supporting their actions. But in order to make them feel like actual people and not just caricatures, I give individual attention to each character when I'm developing their motivations. And I make sure that those motivations align with their archetype without being cliche. For example, I've got a bad guy in a scene and he's doing bad stuff. That lets me write the scene fairly quickly because I know what a bad guy will do. Bad stuff. But now I have to stop and think, why is he doing bad stuff? What is his motivation? It can't just be because he's the villain. That's his archetype. But what is his motivation? He needs a unique motivation so that your audience can remember him as an actual person and not just a cartoon caricature. Knowing what the bad guy wants is even more important than knowing how they turn bad in the first place. Because if done correctly, the villain's motivation, i.e. what they want, will explain how they turn bad without even needing to give them a backstory. They're bad now because we understand what they need. In a similar vein, the best friend can't just support the hero because they're the hero's best friend. They can't be funny just to be comic relief. Why are they friends with the hero? Why are they funny? What do they get out of the relationship? What would the hero have to do to make them turn their back on the hero and stop supporting them? Answering these questions helps separate your characters from all the other archetypal characters out there. It makes them memorable. Number 4, what does your character notice? This is a writing exercise. It can be really helpful in developing unique characters. What you do is put your main characters in a fairly innocuous setting in your book. Could be somebody's kitchen or a bedroom or other place that would be familiar and everyday to your characters in their world. Then, for each character, write 300 words from their perspective only about what they notice in the room. What do they see? What does it mean to them? Does the villain notice the color of the seat cushions, but the best friend ignores the seats altogether and spends her whole paragraph describing the knickknacks above the sink? Whatever they notice, try to keep that in mind whenever you are working with them throughout the story, even if they are the point of view character. What catches their eye? What do they think is important enough to mention? Maybe the mentor only notices emotional states of other characters and barely spares a glance at the physical setting. Are they doing that to manipulate or to keep the peace? Number 5, give each character a unique sounding name. This does not sound important, but it can actually make the difference between your reader remembering your character or forgetting them in the wild mix of A-name protagonists. Starting and ending each name with a different letter and having each name have a different number of syllables can go a long way in differentiating your characters from one another and from characters in other stories. For example, Alec should not fall in love with Alex. Mindy can't be Jane's mom if Connor's mom's name is Mandy. See what I'm saying?